Hi, my name's Dan. I'm an assistant here at Lava Room. I went to Cuyahoga Community College and got a degree in recording arts and technology. What that means is basically I went into school, and the facility is absolutely astonishing. It's beautiful. The amount of gear that they have is out of this world. And they use that to their advantage to help us to get really comfortable with the real world kind of gear and what we use in the industry. And then they kind of outsource to different places for students to intern. They call it field experience, so that we can get an experience with the actual industry, with clients, with people out in the real world, rather than just inside of a box in school. But the school side is really good for technical stuff, and then the field experience is great for getting into the industry. I work primarily as an engineer just because I don't want to step on anyone's toes. When I'm in a room with an artist and a producer, I certainly don't want to step on any of their toes, especially the producer, because they know what they have in their head and I don't. I'm trying to do my job and they're trying to do theirs. So I work primarily as an engineer. I do production on the side as far as making beats, and I try to put my input in for production during sessions, but I would consider myself an engineer. In my mind, the producer is someone that makes the creative decisions during the music process, and the engineer makes the technical decisions, where to manipulate frequencies, how to control dynamics, how to make the sound good so that consumers can listen to it on the radio. The producer is getting that kind of soul into it so that they can feel the song rather than just hear it. I would consider myself to be professional for about 2 years now. Once I got through school and I got a little bit of experience under my belt, I felt confident in my ability to record artists and get their ideas out onto a computer, not on a paper, but get their ideas out and create something that's more than just a recording. So I would say around 2 years. I like to produce and work on hip hop and rap, any sort of modern music, just because I hear it every single day and I grew up with that kind of stuff. My parents, they liked country and they liked rock, and my dad would constantly listen to Elvis. I was kind of on the side of I wanted to do my own thing and find my own music, and I wasn't avoiding country or rock or anything like that, but I found hip hop. Um, Back early 2010s, it was all Nicki Minaj and Tayo Cruz and Chris Brown, those kind of people. And that music really helped me to find something that I enjoyed rather than something my parents were listening to. I love being able to say I helped create something that makes people enjoy life, makes people happy, makes people connect with different things that they might not have been connecting with prior to listening to music that I helped create. And I like to be able to help the artists themselves get their ideas out and make something out of their thoughts. The thing that I dislike about my job is working with clients that may not have the budget to go into a commercial studio and spend all the money to make music there. So we have to resort to using their home or room that they're in, because whether they're in Akron or Toledo or whatever the case may be, they're not going to want to drive to me, and I am okay with going to them. Now, the problem is these rooms that we record in usually aren't treated and they're not perfect. I had a session last weekend where I recorded with this amazing couple. They're amazing singers and they're very talented, but we recorded in a completely wooden room. And the room wasn't treated, it was very reflective, and it made my job kind of difficult because I'm trying to explain to them this isn't going to be as dead as it would be in a commercial studio. Um, and they're okay with it. The song sounds great. It still sounds good, but it's just something that I would have to deal with later on in post, try to clean it up a little bit more than I would normally have to, and it just kind of makes for a worse experience for me. My favorite session that I've been a part of is definitely Machine Gun Kelly, just because I grew up listening to him and his music has had such an impact on the city. He went from this huge rapper to rock, and he just has gone global at this point. But it's really cool to see an artist from Cleveland rep Cleveland and keep them on the map and still keep doing these big things. And not to mention that the people that he surrounds himself with, they're very respectful. They're very good people. They're very peaceful. They make great music and they do it in a decent amount of time. They're not taking forever and they don't do it in half a second. They make sure that it's good quality. And those sessions are the best, in my opinion, because it's just good music with good people. When I'm not in the studio, I like to go home and work on music more, as boring as that sounds. And I like to play video games. I like to hang out with my friends. Just normal people stuff. I like going to the gym. But video games are probably my favorite pastime, just because it's something that I get to do that's not this. It's just different. I think it depends on who you ask, because if you ask somebody that's involved in the industry, they're going to say it's great and it's going well. And if you ask somebody that's completely disconnected from the industry or hasn't had any sort of involvement with anyone that is cemented in the industry, they might have a completely different answer. Me personally, I think it's in a good spot for people that are already there. And I think for people to get into the industry, it can be a little bit more difficult nowadays, just with social media and the way that the world's working and the way that we as industry workers capture the attention of the public or the listeners. It's a little bit more difficult just because it's so saturated. But I think the industry as a whole isn't in the worst spot it's ever been, but it's definitely in a more difficult spot. Today's music industry changes on a daily basis. I think it's a losing battle to try to think, how can I stay relevant? How can I be the biggest that I can be? How can I compete with Playboy Cardi or Travis Scott or all these big names that are releasing music on a consistent basis? To stay relevant is kind of subjective in my opinion. So how do you stay relevant? Just keep making music, keep doing what you do and make it at a high quality, at a professional level, and put out what you want to put out. Because as soon as you start thinking about, how can I compete with this person? How can I compete with this person? How can I be on this level or get on this pedestal? It's going to change up the way you make music. It's going to change up your style, and eventually it's just going to change up your whole workflow. And that's no good. You want to keep true to yourself and make good music. So how do you stay relevant? Just keep doing you, and eventually somebody will pick up on it if it's that good. I think my clients like that I stay out of their way unless I feel like I need to. Especially with artists they like to work quick and they like to get things done. Not that we're on a time crunch, but people that just like to go quickly. I try not to step on their toes because that messes up their workflow and it messes up mine too. I'm trying to listen for different imperfections, things that we can do better as far as the recording, and they're focused on their creative side, the art, the music. They're not worried about the recording because that's my job. So I think that they like the fact that I don't step on anyone's toes. I do my job and I let them do theirs unless I feel like it's necessary for me to interject. artists can expect an industry standard sound, good music, a good product, and to be satisfied with the music afterwards. Because there's been countless times where I've been in sessions with other engineers in other places, and everyone in the room just isn't satisfied. They'll say, "Oh, it's good music," which it is, and it sounds good, but they're not satisfied. There's just that little bit of it that's missing. And it's hard for people to put a pin in that, but for us here, the sounds that come out of here are industry standard, it's high quality, and you're going to be very satisfied with how it sounds. I was in a session about a year ago at a studio in Olmsted Falls, and there was a few producers in the room with me, and they were back on the couch behind me, and I was running the session, and he was talking, talking, talking. And I love these guys so much, and they're great producers, but he was talking, talking, talking. So I turned up the volume. He gets louder because he can't hear himself talk. And I turned up the volume, and then he kept getting louder and louder and louder. And eventually the speakers are cranked, and he's yelling behind me. And I look around and I turn to him, and I'm like, dude, I'm trying to do my job. And he says, "Oh, sorry." And he was genuinely sorry about that, but he didn't realize that as he's yelling, I'm trying to listen and I'm trying to focus on what I'm doing, but he's having a blast, which is fine. Um, but I try in the nicest way possible. I try to let him know, like, hey, you can't be back here yelling, screaming, open up bags, throwing bottles around, playing on your piano when I'm trying to do my job and record people. Not that it's bad for him to be doing that. It was just kind of frustrating for me. And that's the case for a lot of different clients. They sometimes don't know how this thing works or how my brain will work, which is fine. I don't expect them to. But sometimes it's a little bit frustrating when there's excess noise or excess things happening when we should just be focused on making music. There's something about getting that take, and there's no better way to describe it just than that take. Especially on a part of the song that the artist is getting tripped up on over and over and over, and they just can't get it, and eventually they get it. Or on the flip side, they get it on the first try, and they love it, and we love it, and there's just a feeling inside where everyone says, "Oh, keep that, that's it, that's it." Especially when people in the room, they start freaking out, and they're like, "Oh, that was so crazy, that was great." And it's something about that take that's just, you can't put words to it. It's a little part, but it has such a big impact on the room and on everyone's emotions. I would like to go out to lunch with Kanye West just because he has made the industry a completely different place for everyone. And I mean that, point being is his work is unlike anyone on the planet. He's one of the greatest artists of our generation, if not the greatest artist of our generation. People talk about Drake and people talk about Kendrick and their numbers and how Drake's competing with, that's a question right now, like who's more prominent, is it Drake or Michael Jackson? He just had a line in his last album, For All the Dogs, where he said he's one away from Michael. That's true, but that's just numbers. Kanye has done an immense amount of artistic creation with our generation alone, with the production, with his vocals, with how he works his music, his arrangements, the sounds that he chooses, the people that he involves, the people that he's worked with, especially like Jay-Z, Timbaland, all these people that made the music industry what it is today, especially in the rap culture. He's a genius, and I want to know where he gets all of his ideas from, how he gets his workflow, how he started. And I know he's got documentaries, but there's just something else about talking to someone. So, and I want to know his real personality. I've seen him on the media, and I've seen him have a bad picture painted. I want to know who he is and figure out his mindset. I'm only satisfied with my work when the artist is satisfied with their work. There's always something else that can be done to a mix or to a song that can change it, not necessarily make it better or worse, but can change the way that it sounds. And I feel that the way I mix and record, or whatever the case may be, the way I do my job is my expression of their creative work. Um, Therefore, it's always able to change. I'm just never satisfied until the artist says, "This is how I like it. This is what I want. Leave it this way." Then I say, "Cool, I'm just not going to touch it anymore." And eventually, after not listening to it every day for 2 months, I can appreciate the song for what it is. It makes me crazy in a recording session when social media gets involved because I don't like having live streams, cameras going on when I'm trying to work. Just because it's pointless, like if you want to promote your song, that's great, but do it when it's finished. Do it when it sounds good. Not that it's going to sound bad in the recording process, but it's going to sound different, especially over a phone speaker. Um, I also don't like having just, knowing that there's a camera with X amount of people looking at me do my job behind my back. And it's frustrating, and I don't want to be the guy that says, "Hey, can you turn off your camera?" Because in retrospect, I really don't care. But it's just that extra little bit of like somebody that doesn't know what's happening or what's going on is watching us making some sort of, I don't know how I want to put this, but just the social media thing gets me just because it's unnecessary, in my opinion. I was recording with my buddy. His name is James. He's an insanely good rapper. He's very talented. He's very quick with coming up with new ideas, and he's extremely talented writer. We were recording in his, well, I bought a little USB mic for like $100 from Guitar Center. And I was like, I wonder if I could do this because I always had a fascination with music, but I was never confident enough to be an artist, and I never wanted to put in the time, effort, and work to become some sort of like master pianist or whatever the case may be to create that side of music. And I felt like I could make really good recordings and I could do a really good job as far as letting them do their thing, and then I focus on my thing. So I bought this mic and I went to his place and we made a beat together and he recorded over it, and it sounded better than I ever expected, and I was like, wow, this could be really cool. So I looked up a whole bunch of tutorials on YouTube and I did the whole 9 yards with getting an introduction to audio recording. And I was like, this could really be a lot of fun, really cool, and I could be good at it because it's a technical thing, yes, and you have to do everything in a specific way, but there's also no right way to do it. And that's what I love about it so much. So that moment recording with him in his room was just eye-opening for me. Like I had a lot of fun. The time went really fast, and it came easy to me. So I was like, this could be something I could focus on and do, and that's what I did. I want to see myself working with artists that I listen to on a daily basis, artists that I respect, not only personally, but respect their music too. I don't want to be working on music that has no impact on me or society. I want to be working with people that put out amazing music on a consistent basis, that put out music that people enjoy and that people look forward to listening to. I want to see myself in a good spot in the industry. I don't have to have 90 million people know my name, but I just want to be in a good spot, solidify my position, and make decent money and live my life.